My name is Petrona Harris, known as Shirley. Most people, if you said Petrona Harris, they won't know who you're talking about. So it's Shirley. I'm from St. Catherine, Jamaica, little district called Old Road District. I came here 1961. My reason for coming to the UK is that my father was the sole breadwinner in our family, and he died. And then, as a child, I was very privileged, and then my mother used to spoil me, actually, look after me, give me everything. And then, after my father died, she couldn't afford to do it. I ended up having two children and realizing that we couldn't support them. So my boyfriend then said he's coming to England, and he'll send for me so that we could be able to support the children. My mother was against it because she didn't want me to leave. She said she can't live without me. And she said, oh, promise me that if you go, don't take the children. Just go work and come back. And we agreed on that. So my boyfriend then, known as Sugar, his name is Shirley Harris, but everybody knew him as Sugar. If you said Shirley Harris, nobody would know what you were talking about. So he came to England, and he settled down for a while. I worked for about a year, and then he sent for me. And that's the reason I leave Jamaica, because I look at my children and I thought, I can't afford to give them the life that my parents used to give me. And I just want better for them. It was the hardest decision that I ever made. It was so, so, so hard to leave them. But my mother promised that she would look after them. I leave two children in the Caribbean. Yvonne, a girl, she was 2 years old, and Michael, my son, who was about 1 year old when I leave. Well, at that time it wasn't, we didn't have phone, so it's just letter. And that was the hard part. You just want to hear their voice and you just want to talk to them. But I used to write once a month, and I send money for them, for my mother to look after them every month. And that was the only communication we have. It was 11 years after I come here that I could afford to send for them. And it was the longest 11 years. I cry night and day. And when I came to England, we get married. I came here in the March, and we get married in October. And we started to work to save, to send for them. But it was so hard as soon as you work, and by the time you pay the rent and do that. So it was 11 years before we could really afford. And one of the reasons why at one point we could send for them, but we were just living in rooms. There were no accommodation for them. So until we have accommodation for them, we couldn't send for them. So it was, as I repeated, it was 11 years since they come after me. When I landed in England, and the place looked so bleak, and I realized it was just one room, and the kitchen was a small kitchen, and there were 9 of us in the house, living in the house. There was a attic with 3 men in there, and there was myself and my husband. There was another couple, and the couple for the house. And we have 1 bathroom. And we used to have to put, I think it was 6 pence in the gas. And as soon as you put that 6 pence, you're better ready. If you're going to have a bath, you're better ready and have a bath. Or if you're going to cook, because they'll just use it, and by the time you're ready, it's all gone. So it was really, really rough. After that, we moved, and we had a council property, and that was much, much better. And that's when we could finance ourselves and send for the children. And after the children come up, then we were able to save and get our own place. But it was really a hard struggle, really, really hard. Not to mention the cold when you wake up in the morning and there was frost on the door, and we didn't have central heating. We have to use the paraffin lamp, and with washing, we didn't have a dryer. We have to put the clothes on the rail hair, we call it that time, and just put the perfume lamp, and then all the room would steam. You have to, although you're cold, you have to keep the window open because the room would steam up. It was very hard, very, very hard. But the best part of it was when the children come. Until then, I think I was just existing. I wasn't living, because if you could imagine, just walk away and leave your children. I could remember walking along one day and I see a little girl and I thought, oh my God, Yvonne must be about that age. And I was looking until I nearly fall over the curb because I was gazing so much on that little girl. You know, just imagine what Yvonne would look like at that age. You know, it was so distressing. Very distressing. When I had my first child in England, I thought that I would miss the other one so much, but that was the time I really even missed them more, because looking at that child and I think, oh my God, I've got another child there, and I want to give that child that affection that I'm giving this one, and she's so far away, they're so far away, and that really hurt to the point that I get really depressed at one point. Really, really depressed, and I had to go to the doctor, and they had to put me on some antidepressant because it was so hard. I only miss the children, but I know that my mother would take care of them even more than I would, because my mother was taking care of them even when I was there, because I was a spoiled child. And even when I wake in the morning, they had their bath and my mother was washing their clothes. So I know that they would be well cared for, and that one thing that gave me the comfort to know. But unfortunately, after about 5 years, she died. And then my husband's mother took them. And I was a bit concerned. I know she loved them, but it wasn't my mother that looking after them, and I was so concerned. And I write to her and tell her my concern, and she write back and she said to me, I know the way your mother look after the children, and I promise that I will look after them just the same, you know. And that gave me a bit of comfort, and she did. She really did, to the point that when my daughter came here, she was actually spoiled. Like I were, because I asked her to wash the dishes, and she said, I don't wash dishes when I was in Jamaica. And I had to say, well, you're not in Jamaica now, you're in England, and we have to work, so you have to help to wash the dishes, you know. Oh my gosh, it was so joyful. I remember that night standing at the door after I put them to bed and looking in, and at that time I had 3 more children, and I just stand at the door and looking, and I wasn't a Christian at that moment, but I just pray and thank God, and I can't express the joy that I feel at that time, knowing that they are here. They were traumatized, to put it lightly. They were very much so, because I talked to them after they came, and just to find out what life was when they were there. And Yvonne, the eldest one, was telling me that when my mother died, that they just come and take her to her grandmother, which she did know her grandmother, but she wasn't so close to her as my mother. And she was quite traumatized for a while. But she make her feel really at home and comfortable. So after a little while, she was, but that, I think, when you have that as a child in your life, I don't think it go away. I think it's something that you probably live with. We don't discuss it a lot, but I think it affects them. I think it do affect them. Ivan was 2 and Michael was 1. because they were very close. They wouldn't remember me. They didn't know me until they come here. They even didn't remember me at all. None of them did remember me, no. I sent picture, but unfortunately I didn't get any picture from them. I get one when they were about 4 or 5, I think. And I just tell them about the sibling, and whether or not the letter that I write, I don't know if it was read to them or what, you know. We wasn't in any real communication as such. If it was like this time when you have telephone or so, you could communicate, but at that time, it was hard, and I think that was the most distressing part of it, because you couldn't communicate with them, and that was hard. I just sit down and sometimes think about it and think, why did I leave them? And then the question answers itself, because I leave them so that I could have a better life. I always tell them that they have a little brother and a sister there, and that soon they will be coming to join them. So they were always excited and asking, when are they coming? When are they coming? And that day they were so happy. I can remember them running around and looking at them and giving Yvonne things and showing her this and showing her that, and they just really bond together, which I'm grateful for, because I have friends that when their children come from Jamaica, they just didn't get along with the ones that are here. I would describe my relationship with them as very good, because I explain to them and I tell them why I have to leave and why they have to stay with their grandparents. And at one point, I think it was Michael said, why didn't you bring us with you? And I explained to him that I couldn't bring them because I have no accommodation and we didn't have any money. We have to look work. And I tell them how we live before they come in the one room, because when they come we establish ourselves, we have a little accommodation that was suitable for them. And I explained to them that it wasn't always like this, you know, so they have an understanding of why. I think it affects my son more, because when I write to my sister and she write back to me, she said he didn't seem very happy and I should send for him first, but I couldn't send for one and not the other. So I think it affected my son more than it did my daughter. That is just my thinking. I never really asked them. But I think it did affect my son a lot with education and things like that. But my daughter, it didn't affect her in any way, because she managed to get all her exams, and she went to about 3 different universities. She did. So in educational wise, I don't think it affected her. But my son just couldn't settle in school. It affected him a lot. He couldn't settle in school. But in the end, he's doing well. But I think it have a big effect on him. That if I thought if he had grown up with me and school here, he probably would have a better opportunity. I think it's equal opportunity, but it depends on the children. It depends on the child. Some children can just pick up and get along with it, but some, when it affects them, they find it difficult to put their life back together. You know, because when my son come and started school, he just couldn't settle in school, and I think that was the changes that he couldn't really process. If I could start over again, I would make the same decision. I would not change, because if I didn't leave them and come here, I would be still in Jamaica. And the life that they have now and the education that they have, I couldn't afford to school them there and give them that education that they have now. So I don't regret coming here. I would do it all over again. even though it was tough. Tough because when I said it was so distressing that I was depressed, and I cry day and night, and sometimes Sugar have to said, crying not going to bring them here. You have to stop it and just get on with life, you know. And he encouraged me, and if I didn't have that encouragement, sometimes I think I'd break. But I just think I come here to give them a better life, and if I break down and have a nervous breakdown or anything like that, it would be for nothing. So that's what keep me going, you know. But I wouldn't change anything. Wouldn't change anything. Especially when I went back home and see children back home, their age, and the life that they have there. That it's I think that if I didn't leave, they would be there in that situation as well. So I am glad I make that decision. They are so close, so close. That's when my daughter Melanie died, and Yvonne was in America. She came back to the funeral, and that's when she decided she have to come back to England, because she just feel that she was so far away from us that she just want to be back with the family. So we are so close knit. I just think I'm blessed because there are many children. Because I have a friend that when we were living together, and she leave her daughter back home as well. And when the daughter came over, she was resentful, very resentful. And she thought, why did you leave me? And they just could not get along, because when she come and she see the other children, she think the other children have a better opportunity than she had. And she just couldn't get on with the mother. And she confessed to me after the mother died and said that she regret not being able to express her feeling to the mother after she get to realize why she had to leave her, you know. So I think I am just blessed.